So, good evening to some and good morning to the others. So, let's start the session. Thank you, Audrey, for joining again. I think you were here last time too. Welcome. And thank you, Srinivasan. We'll be starting now. So, this is the second session of the study circle. The last time we started with, the aim of human life, the purpose. We explored it a little bit. So it's a very, in-depth exploration, but we did touch upon it nicely. So we ended with, we read just the first para of the passage, the adventure, from the mother, from the sunlit path, the compilation, the sunlit path. So I think we have all, in a way, invoked Mother and Sri Aurobindo now with that chant. So now I'll start. I'll screen share the passage from the sunlit path. And so the chapter is the call, and the passage is the great adventure. If any of us would like to unmute and read this for us, that would be great. You can read one para or the whole thing and then reflect on it.
Yeah, Srini here. I can try.
Thank
Yeah. We are the great adventure. We are in a very special situation, extremely special, without precedent. We are now witnessing the birth of a new world. It's very young, very weak, not in its essence, but in its outer manifestation. Not yet recognized, not even felt, denied by the majority. But it is here. It is here, making an effort to grow, absolutely sure of the result. But the road to it is a completely new road, which has never before been traced out. Nobody has gone there. Nobody has done that. It's a beginning, a universal beginning. So it's an absolutely unexpected and unpredictable adventure. There are people who love adventure. It is these I call, and I tell them this. I invite you to the great adventure. It's not a question of repeating spiritually what others have done before us. For our adventure begins beyond that. It's a question of a new creation, entirely new, with all the unforeseen events, the risks, the hazards it entails, a real adventure whose goal is certain victory. But the road to which is unknown and must be traced out step by step in the unexplored. Something that has never been in this present universe and that will never be again in the same way. If that interests you, well, let us embark. What will happen to you tomorrow? I have no idea. One must put aside all that has been foreseen, all that has been devised, all that has been constructed, and then set off walking into the unknown. And come what may, there.
Yeah, so it ends here. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I think this is again a good start, right? Like we all do want newness in our life. We all do want adventures in our life. But what we call as adventures are usually just duplications, right? They are adventure sports. There are things, there are vacations, there are again, I don't know, again, sports example is coming to me. But we repeat mostly what is already being done. But again, symbolically, the path of integral yoga is so unique in its way and so different than, the traditional Vedic philosophies, at least the way they are popular. That mother says that this is a great adventure. And yeah, for those who love adventures, she's calling them. So, any comments, any reflections? We can talk a bit on this if needed, and then we'll clear.
Okay. I have a comment. So this adventure is about divinizing the human body, right? And for evolution of the supermind or the superhuman.
Yeah, I think that would be like what in the big picture, what is being talked about. And yet, on every day, our every day is an adventure, right? When I'm not just running like a mule after the ordinary, the race that, everybody is running, but we don't know where it's heading, where it's going. And if I dare to be different, if I dare to self respect, if I dare to connect within and find, or ask questions like, why am I here? Or where did this thought come from? Or what movement was that? Why do I have this pattern? When I dare to rise above what comes, how I say, naturally to me, I think that is an adventure. Every moment an adventure is possible. It's entertaining, it's frustrating, it's thrilling, and it's an adventure. So, yeah, again, that big picture. And yet, for me, for us, the sadhaks on the way, it's our everyday.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
And I'm remembering somebody, I think in the start, when the starting times of Aurobindo, I read in some anecdotes that somebody asked the mother that some foreigners, I believe, I don't know whether from Russia or where, they asked that we also want to be superhuman or something like that. And mother said that somebody conveyed this message to the mother that they also want to partake. And mother said that why? What have they given to the divine? So how do they think they can, partake of anything? So that's what you were sharing, that if each aspect of my life, I do not turn it to the higher, and I do not give up living by the ego consciousness, we cannot actually imagine to partake of what is actually truly destined for us. So journey of this great adventure has to start with our day-to-day life, which is not far off from us. Because as you shared that, as Shini was also talking, that as if it appears to be somewhere like something promised to us somewhere in the future. But we don't realize that the future is today. That if today, as you were sharing, that if I step back from my ill will, if I step back from all the thoughts, feelings which are constricting, suffocating, which are belonging to the ego consciousness, and live in connection with the highest within me, without that, this adventure is not possible. And as you rightly shared, that each day is an adventure, and I don't have to wait for some, later on dawn. The dawn is here. And that reminded me of another essay by Nolinikant Gupta, which I just pulled it up. Again, very beautiful words and reflecting with our day-to-day life on this new adventure. So he shares that The world is in the throes, and then he's sharing, I don't know when he wrote this, years ago, he's sharing the world is in the throes of a new creation, and the pangs of the new birth have made Mother Earth restless. It is no longer a far off ideal that our imagination struggles to visualize, nor a prophecy that yet remains to be fulfilled. It is here and now. And then he says, although we may not know it, the new man, the divine race of humanity, is already among us. It may be in our next neighbor, in our nearest brother, even in myself. Only a thin veil covers it. It marches just behind the line. Only a thin veil covers it, and it wails for the occasion to throw off the veil and place itself in the forefront. So this is the choice that each moment we have, each moment, like either here or there, each moment either listening to the dictates of the ego consciousness or connecting with the divine within, the highest within me, and turning and stepping away actually from the constricting narrow zones of ego consciousness. Yeah, so just wanted to add on to what you shared, that it's the day to day adventure and it's right here, it's not far away.
Thank you. So, a warm welcome to Dia, Shweta, Nidhi and Shyam. Thank you for joining in. So, we had just read a passage from there's a book called The Sunlit Path, and the passage name is The Great Adventure. So, just for a little bit of background for those who are new, to integral yoga. So, here Sri Aurobindo and Mother, they talk about how there is evolution, right? That how first they say the energy was in stones and then plants and different kind of animals, and then they, I don't know, chimpanzees, cavemen, Homo erectus, like all that evolutionary journey. And Homo sapiens is also considered, not the end result, not the end. And the next, the birth is, for you, Homo divinus. I mean, saying this from a very limited uh, understanding. So he was just referring to that. So, yeah, that how we have to choose right, choose the truth to transcend where we are right.
Okay. I have a question. When we take these challenges on a daily basis and when we confront the situation, uh, our mind is smart enough to justify whatever actions we take as uh, whatever we want it to be. Whether we take an action, our mind can convince us, telling that it's a selfless act, but it really may not be. So, how do we tackle with this?
Yeah, so your voice is a little bit unstable, but basically, I think what you were sharing was that we might believe that we are doing something selfless, and yet there could have, some selfish background to it. So, how do we know it's a selfless act? So, I think there are lot of ways in which we can do that, like some simple ones that are coming to me again, mostly given, by the mother. So firstly, I think she says not to do, charity work mostly because, behind charity, usually again the ego is standing and saying, see, I'm doing so much. So I guess always connecting to the center, to our own self, and asking what my intention is, right? For something simple or something big, that what is the reason why I'm doing this. So if, everything can be offered and done, right? Like say I don't know, a gopi would live for Krishna, right? Whatever she would do would be for Krishna. So say somebody on this path would be doing everything for the mother, that I am doing this for you. So, but like you said, there is a lot of purification needed, a lot of attention, awareness, because there is something in me which grasps to, questions like, what will I get out of it? Maybe, my expectation has from an elephant, now I expect an ant. That okay, an ant will be given to me as a reward. Earlier, I used to ask for an elephant. But even that ant, as long as it's what do I get, that is kind of where if I see that, that's an issue. And I think recently in one of the other study circles, mother had said that if you were doing something and you were told that this would not happen, like this will not be given to you. So if I see a movement inside that, no, no, I want it. No, this must happen. So then that is a desire, and that is not a walk, that's not a selfless move towards doing something selflessly. Like, yeah, I didn't word it right. Yeah, and I'm sure there would be other comments on this.
Yeah, thank you. So when we deal with daily activities with people or with the work, because we don't deal with uh, ashram and let's say in an ashram environment, so we'll be dealing with all the worldly activities, right? So how practically we can apply this principle where we don't expect anything, we offer everything to mother.
So I want to just add on to what Taru you have shared. I think we all have it, this sincerity. We all have it, even when we are insincere. We know that we are insincere. We know, but we don't connect with that knowing. Just like you shared that I should know what is my intention. Now, who would know my intention if not myself? Who? We can't fool ourselves this much that how would I know whether the task is selfless or not? We know. So we have to completely rely on that knowing. That if even if it's a little vibration that I am feeling, who on earth will know that vibration more closely than me, because I am the most closest to myself. That is the light of consciousness which is given to us. This is mother's consciousness. That knowing. So when I want to know whether my intentions are right, selfless, or whether my intentions are evil or full of ill will and division and all that, we just have to take one moment of silence and we know. Even a moment. Okay, let what Taru was sharing, just asking myself in that moment. Okay, let me check within. But we have to make effort, because if I'm just back to back running around and not even taking a moment to check my intentions, then it's not going to happen. So by default, there is darkness, we can be sure about it. That because that is the adventure. Otherwise, what would be the adventure if everywhere there is light? There is no adventure. The adventure is that there is darkness. The adventure is also that we have the light. It's only a matter of taking it out of the pocket and looking out of it. I mean, so close that we don't even have to take it out of the pocket. It is shining. It is telling me that my intention is not right. It's an evil intention. And not, when I say evil, don't think that it's a asuric, big titanic evil intention. Just this much, that not rejoicing in others' happiness, feeling jealous, feeling ambitious, greed, lust, desire. These are all intruders. They are not our true self. That's why they make us so constricted and so self obsessed. So I think the only little, it's a very subtle thing that we have to get it, that we know. We can't fool ourselves that we don't know. How would I get to know? This is mother's consciousness that is bright and shining in us, this knowing that tells us if we want to be sincere, then it tells us that yes, here lies the insincerity. I caught it today. That's a little victory for myself, catching our own insincerity. So also completely relying, knowing that we know, and just trusting that knowing. Somebody was, I was just attending something yesterday, and somebody was asking that, nowadays many communities are there, and many people who are young, like monks and nuns, they are devoted to the dharma, and how many a times these new age masters, they can fool, and the nuns or monks, they can be fooled by the master, because they have been told that completely rely on the guru, completely rely on the master, so they don't even use their common sense. So to use our common sense, that's what the teacher was sharing, that if somebody touches you with an evil intention, you would immediately know that it is an evil intention, something is not right. And if somebody touches you with soft heart, like a compassionate heart, you immediately know and sense that, yes, the right touch. But we don't rely on that knowing. So she was also sharing that rely on that knowing, trust that knowing, because it is given to us, it is granted to us. So, in respect of when I want to catch my own insincerities and offer my life to the mother or to the higher, in any moment, if I slip from that track, I know, and just to rely upon that. That's mother's force with us.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions. Maybe I'll go one by one. So first thing is, how do we have the actual growth, uh, the true growth of ourselves, um, without desire and ambition?
I think, how it is said that the same thing can be a helper and the same thing becomes a bar. So I think initially when we have, I mean, these are not small questions, firstly, they require a lot of attention and awareness. But if I have a desire, like you were here when we read the passage, you read it for us, that if I like adventures, let me go for the highest adventure. If I have a desire, let me have the highest desire, right? Like we are on earth, we don't know why we are here, we don't know how, a consciousness comes. We know that it leaves the body. We know that we are not just the body, but we don't know where it goes. And yet, in the interim, where are we spending our lives? What are we doing? What are we running after? These carrots that are hanging in front of us that keep changing. What have they ever given me? What can they give me? And that, the transitory nature of things, whatever I aim, you said ambition, you said, we say aim, greed, everything is transitory. Today I want this, tomorrow I want that, 3 days later I want that, 3 months later I want something totally different. And somehow I'm conditioned to work very mechanically, right? Age groups are decided for each and every action for me. What stage of my life, where I should be, I've been told. So if I look at the way it's working, I think I'll be guided. I mean, if I start questioning what I'm doing and why, So I think first again that if I must desire, I think I'm just repeating myself. Let me see what I'm desiring. Is it worth desiring?
Yeah, Taru, you can also actually, at this question, we can maybe, if time permits, we can take up that passage, the creative soul. And also that when we are desiring, who is desiring? There is something sitting in me full of a sense of lack that wants to be fulfilled. And every time I desire, I feel that this will complete me. And we have seen in our life so far, I think all of us are having enough experiences to tell us that each desire fulfilled doesn't leave us actually complete. We are even left hankering for more, more, more. To catch at the root of the desire, which is this sense of lack. The root of desire is sense of lack. When we live from the sense of lack, we are living from the desiring soul, which Mother and Sri Aurobindo say that we think that it's me, but it's not us. So when I am fulfilling that empty stomach, which always keeps on demanding, I'm like putting food in its mouth every time it asks for something. It's actually an abyss. I'm putting it, I'm giving it food, but it's always asking, always asking, always asking. So all the food that I'm putting in that empty stomach, desiring soul, where is it going? Where is it going? And at one point of time, we really become fed up that, oh my God, how long will I keep feeding it? Because it's not our true self. So we are not feeding our true self. So recognizing this, that whenever I feed this empty asking within me, I don't feed my true self, then asking also parallelly myself, what is my true, what do I really, really want to do right now? Because all of us, Mother says, have been given unique combinations of talents and abilities and capacities. But we, as a child, maybe our parents were more sensitive to it. They saw that, okay, this child is good at this and the other one may be naturally good at these things. We have to nurture those natural abilities. That's where is the soul feed. That's where our, we feed our soul. So parallelly, as we reject the desires which are trivial, which we know that they are not taking us anywhere, we have to parallelly nurture and foster ourselves. That's where we are feeding our true self. Because we will see that all the desires that we are feeding, they're actually mostly coming from collective suggestions. Desire to have a good property, good wealth, good job, getting married, settled, or further, we will see that if we interrogate what Taru was asking, to question, that, and when we realize, oh my God, this is not my desire, this is coming from a collective suggestion. When did I pick it up? To ask that, when did I pick it up? When did I make it my own? So slowly, as we question, and as was shared, that this is not a very, like, one day I think about it and the rest of the days I forget about it. I will not go to the root of it. So this has to become my preoccupying question, that what do I really want from my life? And each step of my life, each day of my life, do I really want to do this? Maybe I'm attending a festivity or a celebration or whatever. Do I really want to be here? If it was the last day of my life, which very well it could be, would I be here right now? So each day of my life has to pass through that mirror, that light of consciousness that I have, then something can awaken. But this cannot awaken that if once I think about it and the rest of 5 days I have no clue about that inner knowing, inner call. And then on the seventh day, I again come back to the call and I ask, what is my purpose? This won't be served. So this has to become my preoccupying thing, then something will happen, then something will crack open.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I'm asking multiple
No, we are
questions.
glad actually for your questions because these are connected with each one of us. We don't dare to open them up, but we are glad that you're opening them up. Yeah, thank
Okay.
you.
Then I have one more.
Please.
So if you want to give up the existing foolishness which we are currently doing, and we want to develop or identify our true self and do things in that alignment, but still I'm helpless because I'm swayed by the incidents that's happening around me. I don't have control over that, and um, I feel myself stuck in the illusion or the maya. So I find in order to really develop or go towards the true self, I should remain aloof. Uh, so, how do we tackle this, especially when we find ourselves stuck in Maya?
Yeah, I think the you already answered your question actually in the question itself. You said that I would like to be aloof. Now, this aloofness that we demand is not the aloofness from the physical situations, actually. We demand an aloofness from our entanglement with our thoughts and feelings. So, the first step, which has already been described with mothers in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, is to develop the witnessing stance. Because without having the witnessing stance, you don't center your mind. I don't know who I am. What do I want? So you already answered that this aloofness is a prerequisite. So to that's why we focus the mind on the breath and stick the mind with the breath. That's why when we do, take any divine name like mother's name, we stick our attention. Half part of our attention is sticking to the mother because that is giving us a witness stance. So it's like earlier I am just like this with my thoughts, feeling, and life, like this. I have no idea what to do. I'm swayed. Now I develop like this, a breathing space. So here is the mind centered with the breathing or with the name of the mother. And here are the surface movements like thoughts, feelings, all the day-to-day activities, what is going on. Okay, this person said this, but what happened within me? So these are being observed. So I think this disentanglement is the first thing that has to happen. And it's beautiful that one is getting frustrated by the day to day rut of the life because that happens here. Now, some part of you tells you that no, this is not it. So it wants to be aloof. So this is the aloofness that is required. So, first, throughout the day to day activities, Sri Aurobindo has described to develop a witnessing stance. And there are two normal ways coming to me which usually we practice, coming to the breath, bringing the mind to the attention of breath. So mindfulness of breathing, that things are going on in the surface, thoughts, feelings, and everything, but I am sticking rooted with the breath. And on the other hand, we can also take mother's name. So instead of breath, we can root our mind with mother's name. So rooting the mind so that the mind can be witness to the surface movement is the very first step which needs to stabilize itself. Because when we take this witnessing stance, it also has a discerning quality, like it has an intelligence. It knows, that knowing that we were talking of. So when we stabilize that witnessing stance, you get to know that, oh, this is what I need to do in this moment, and then to trust and rely on that knowing, amongst many other things that I'm sure people can share. So this is what also can be a part of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
One thing that I saw in the last question was that, there is pain, right? That is why it's being asked, how do I get out of it? It's like, says a lot of people I remember, especially when I was young, used to hold candles in their hand and feel the wax on their hand, right? It's a bit painful, it's hot, and yet they used to find some pleasure in it. So if I'm holding a candle and I'm feeling the wax, it's not burning my hand, and I'm like, it's not nice. How do I keep it down? How do I keep it down? The first thing is keeping it down the way you picked it up, because we have picked up the situations in our life. No matter how many times or to how many people I could say, I'm choiceless, I have no choice, I am stuck. We always do have a choice. And the second thing is, if I had a firecracker in my hand, which is about to burn and burn my hand along with it, I would not ask how to keep it down, right? Which way, which place. I would just throw it wherever so that I don't get burned. So if I'm experiencing some discomfort, some frustration, some pain on a daily level, which is making me ask a question, I guess then another way is to suffer more, right? And then the dropping is automatic. So if I'm still debating, like people say in domestic violence situation also, and like when there's oppression and all, there's a stage where they ask, right? Do I leave? What do I do? What is right? And yet the situation at times reaches such a point that no matter, the whole family might be opposing them, that no, no, you adjust. You're like, say whatever, I am done. So if I'm still asking, that means I still am okay, still a little bit I'm getting out of things, or I still obviously am not convinced that this is a firecracker about to burn my hand. Just, yeah.
And
So,
what you shared, Taru, is so being so skillful. Like, it's just the basic skill that if something is burning my hand, caring for myself, wouldn't I keep it down? So it's so skillful, just basic common sense is required here, which we actually don't use because we get so swayed by the collective suggestions that we stop even to use that basic common sense that this is not working for me. you know and as simple as that, that to use it and to keep it down, and to have love and care for oneself.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we had a beautiful, again, some words from Nolini Khan Gupta, a disciple. I mean, I don't have any words to describe him. Like, I think, Monica, why don't you introduce him? I do have his pictures.
Yeah, you can put
Uh,
up the picture. I don't, whatever I can share, I'll share whatever little, because I think it's better that we read about him because it's too much. So this is Nolini Da. Maybe some of us may have read about him, uh, or read even his essays and articles with Sri Aurobindo. So he was a revolutionary, and he had been in the freedom struggle also with Sri Aurobindo since at the very beginning itself. Yeah. And I think Taru was sharing this small anecdote that somebody asked Sri Aurobindo that is Nolini doing sadhana? Somebody in the ashram asked. And Sri Aurobindo said that if Nolini is not doing sadhana, that I don't know who is. So if even if we read his articles, they are full of this very clear light that shines through his articles. So we thought that we can maybe read a few of his words today.
Yeah, so the one that we'll be reading today is called The Creative Soul. If anybody is willing, if they could read the first paragraph, I would appreciate that. Otherwise, I'll be no volunteer.
I want to give the chance to others.
Yeah, I'll read.
Yeah, I,
The creative soul, the difference between living organism and dead matter is that while the former is endowed with creative activity, the latter has only passive receptivity. Life adds, synthesizes, new creates, gives more than what it receives. Matter only sums up, gathers, reflects, gives just what it receives. Life is living, glad and green through its creative genius. Creation in some form or other must be the core of everything that seeks vitality and growth, vigor and delight. Not only so, but a thing in order to be real must possess a creative function. We consider a shadow or an echo unreal precisely because they do not create but merely image or repeat. They do not bring out anything new but simply reflect what is given. The whole of existence is real, but it is eternally creative.
yeah, the whole of existence is real because it is eternally created.
And the whole of existence is real because it is eternally creative. So, the
Yeah,
problem that concerns man, the riddle that humanity has to solve, is to find out and follow the path of creativity. If we are not to be dead matter, nor mere shadowy illusions, we must be creative. A misconception that has vitiated our outlook in general and has been the most potent cause of a sterilizing atavism in the moral evolution of humanity is that creativity is an aristocratic virtue, that it belongs only to the chosen few. A great poet or a mighty man of action creates indeed, but such a creator does not appear very frequently. A Shakespeare or a Napoleon is a rare phenomena. They are in reality an exception to the general run of mankind. It is enough if we others can understand and follow them. Mahajano Yena Gataha. Let the great souls initiate and create. The common souls have only to repeat and imitate.
yeah, I think let's stop here. And just see if there's some clarification needed. So, as we see the article, it starts with the difference between what is living and what is dead. So, living, it says, is creative activity, right? And dead is just passive receptivity. Life, it says, adds. I really like that, gives more than what it receives, right? From a seed, just a little bit of water and sunlight, and a tree, it gives out. A small seed becomes a huge tree. But matter only sums up, gathers, reflects, gives just what it receives. Life is living, green, creative. So this creation, it is said, he's saying is must be the core of everything that seeks vitality and growth, vigor and delight. And so again, even this example of, a shadow and an echo, we don't consider it real because it doesn't have any essence, right? It does not create, it's just repeating and just reflecting. So the whole of existence is real because it is eternally creative. So in itself, this passage, is enough for, I don't know, hours of self-reflection. So if I look at my life, my decisions, the day where, not the big picture, because my big picture really, I think, takes me astray, right? Because in my mind, I might think that, I want to do this and that, and this is what I believe in. And yet, in my practical day to day, I'm just, I don't know, just living the ordinary existence, just doing what I'm told, running after things that I'm told are good for me, not stopping for a moment to question my whys and whats and why nots. So again, this question that can I call myself, I mean, it sounds weird, yet do I call myself alive? Or do I look alive while I'm actually just, a living dead? Yeah. Anything from anybody on the first para?
I think this is the, yeah, I think Srinivasan wants to share. Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's appropriate at this point, but when we say a seed grows, right? Just let's take a resemblance. A mango seed can become only a mango tree. So, whatever qualities which we have in our genes, they come up, and it's very tough to change ourselves, right? Our basic characters. So, how do we align ourselves to the towards um, I mean the let's say the superhuman.
Yeah, I think first of all, not to go to the superhuman directly because it's a ladder. So the only thing one can ask here is that a seed will have only that is there in its genes, totally. But you think that you are just a gene? Even science is now sharing that if I have a gene which is predisposed to cancer, it's a very clear fact. It's a well recognized, those of us who want to believe in science and believe in science, and I'm sure that you do, because you said that we are just a bundle of genes. So that is my natural, like it's as if my natural things are in a package called the gene. And when I open up, this will open up. So one thing is that we can say, okay, let us say that you are a gene and this is the package that you are. Do you think that you have opened it up fully? We can also start from that all the natural abilities that you have, say for example, which are in your genes, do you think that they are all open and blossoming? But the answer would not be a straight yes, we know, here also. And on the other hand, if we start from, am I just a bundle of DNA, genetic material? Now, the science will tell us here that if you put a gene in two different environments, a gene, the same gene which is exposed to cancer, for example, it is very prone to develop cancer. One in one glass of water, you give it a different environment. In another glass of water, you give it a different environment. So, in those cases where the gene is pre-exposed to evil environment, like the environment which makes it cancerous, it's very easy to get cancer. True. There we can say, okay, this was in the gene. In another environment that where we give to the gene in that another glass, totally you change, you make the conditions highest possible. from the perspective of science, highest possible nurturing growth conditions, you see that the gene does not develop cancer. Now, what do you say? So this is the aspect of nature versus nurture. And this I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
connect to, you can also actually totally connect with what's being shared earlier, that if I see that my hand is being burned by a candle and I put my hand in water, it soothes, it calms, it gives me, some solidity. It doesn't burn, continue to burn. And if I continue to give that kind of a nurture to my hand, which is right now I feel getting burned, to continue to keep holding the candle and getting the hand burned, then I cannot blame the situations for my doing. So this, I think, many aspects to it, but we have to understand that we are not helpless beings. We are providing nurture either to our negativities, that also we are doing, we have to become conscious of it, and we are at the same time we can also provide nurture to our abilities, our goodness. Does that make sense, Shini?
yes, that makes sense. Maybe I was not complete in my question. So you were talking about the environment, right? So mother was telling the whole world only 5 people would be doing the actual yoga. So there were lots of people in the environment of Aurobindo and mother in the ashram. I mean, if it's the environment alone, it would be the chair on which Sri Aurobindo was there,
No, don't go to the
which
physical,
it was.
don't go to the physical environment,
Okay.
because that would be
Yeah,
misleading
but
again.
what? Yeah, my question was incomplete. What I was trying to say is, um, see, it's yeah, genes are one thing. What I was telling is whether we are like we have come here as a consequence of the past activities across the births, right? So we have this karma bundle, so which will eventually ripen as time proceeds. So uh, we are like we have come, and whatever we experience would be the consequences of the bundle of the past actions. So where is in this case, do we really have a free will where we can choose and we can act according to our aspirations?
So uh, I would, I think it would be very nice, because Sri Aurobindo has said a lot on fate, karma, free will, and destiny. So, first of all, it would be very nice, since you're interested, to delve into letters on yoga. I think maybe part three or second, if I'm not wrong, where you'll find many essays on all this. And the second is that not to go too far, because even in the ashram, mother said that there are many people in the ashram that you can't even think the kind of mind they have living in the ashram, the kind of impurities we can live with. So it's not the physical surrounding that is being talked of. Of course, the physical surrounding has its own effect, but we are not talking about the physical surrounding. We are talking that what is the surrounding that we are always immersed in. That is the surrounding of our mind. We can't exclude that surrounding. So that's why, to become conscious of our thoughts, what am I thinking throughout the day? What am I acting according to throughout the day? Uh, the environment of feelings, not able to rejoice when somebody is happy, feeling jealous, feeling, having all this heartburns when other is having more happiness than I have. So these are what we have to become conscious of, because this is my immediate environment. When I said that the gene is put in environment, I was not referring to just the physical environment, although in that experiment it appears like a physical environment. Even thoughts are physical, thoughts are subtle physical. So they become my action. First I think and then I act. So I can't exclude this environment which is so close to me. I'm always like swimming in this environment, the environment of my thoughts and my feelings. And there is the free will that I have. Because, see, for example, the moment you decided that you want to today come for this reflection, You exercised your choice, didn't you? Or maybe you were pushed,
Yes.
were you pushed into the session?
No, no, no. It was out of my own.
Out of your choice. So there is the choice that we always have. And Sri Aurobindo talks, when he talks about the Aryan spirit, that each of one is an Aryan and we have to make that effort. Aryan means an effort. Then he says that every moment you have a choice. What are you following? Is it what you are following going to add on to your misery? Or is it what you are following going to lighten up the baggage? And this is the choice that we have. Here, even see, you were talking about karma. Now it's again a very big matter. Not We are not going to go into the detail, but the more I act according to my unconscious patterns, the more I add on to the burden of karma. So, what is the way to negate the karma which I may have collected over the past? Act consciously. And what was being shared in the beginning itself, I think what Taru was pointing at, looking at what is my intention, what am I really wanting here, and acting out of a transparent, clarified intention, totally transparent to myself, not fooling myself anymore. Because we fool our own self, nobody else we can fool. So each moment we have to exercise that Aryan choice that is given to us. That's our free will. That's what makes us different from dead matter. The first paragraph. A dead matter doesn't have that choice. See, if a stone is lying in drain or if a stone is lying in clear water, I have to pick up the stone and put it somewhere else. The stone cannot walk away. It doesn't have the ability to exercise that choice. But we at this level of consciousness have the ability to become conscious that these thoughts that I am nurturing in my head, they are harming me. So the thing that you were sharing, that I want to be aloof, yes, then be aloof. Don't follow the dictates of those thoughts and feelings which are like disturbing and not skillful. So yeah, just sharing a few reflections, and please welcome more reflections on this.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. So I have always experienced my psychic being open, or the peace from the divine, especially when I go to ashram or when I go to these relic centers. But right, being alone, right, like being far away from them, uh, how do I try to get that peace? Like I talk to Mother and Aurobindo, I talk to them, I um, pray to them daily, but the presence or the peace which I get there, I'm not getting it.
No, I think, I mean, obviously, I don't know the whole thing here, but I think too much occupation with the mental domain again is a very egoistic activity. Like, say if I have to go somewhere and I know this is the way, then if I just continue to stand here and just keep questioning that, but what will happen after I take the 557th step? First, somebody must tell me. Because see, my life, I have to make decisions. I have to go there. So, and what will happen on the 10,000 step? Where is the end? It's like if I keep standing where I'm standing and I don't make any practical changes in my life, how do I change anything, right? It's just mental entertainment, right? So I think questioning myself, I mean, this is so great because most of us don't question. So it's a blessing that you have so many questions and, so much curiosity. And yet being honest and sincere and asking oneself, what am I practically doing to reach the place where I say or where I'm claiming I want to reach? Once I had uh, I was seeing some animation, and it was like there was a person who wanted to become a very good guitar player. It was animation. And throughout the day, throughout the week, she would, I don't know, sell newspapers, drive cars. And in between, after 3 days, she'll take out the guitar and she'll play and she'll realize she's still not good at it. She's still not good at it. Then 10 days, she'll do this. And she really wanted to play the guitar well. But whenever she would play, nobody would appreciate her and she would wonder, why is it not happening? It is not happening because she is not practicing. She's just wishing or thinking that I want to become a good guitar player. So I guess this, like taking a pause, because this mental domain also really confuses us and yeah, so confuses us and, kind of feels us, makes us feel irritated and frustrated, and it feels it's not happening and there's something wrong with the teaching because there's no clarity. But if I am being very clever that I'm not walking the 5 steps that I can actually clearly see and just questioning where they are leading me, so that again is a ego which doesn't want to change, right? Because if I have to walk the 5 steps, I have to change. I have to be honest. I have to give up my patterns. And that's tough. That requires a lot of dedication and sincerity. But if I just stand here and question, not saying that that's exactly what you're doing and the only thing you're doing, please don't take it that way. But I must do more than I think. I must, at least whatever I can see, I must walk that much. And then, the path opens. Like, people might give so many answers, but everybody has their own journey, their own path. And as you walk, I think it was Rumi who said that as I walk, the way appears. So you will be guided. We all have the same light. We all have, the same guide, the guardian angels, the divine, and we are guided.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. So, our
Yeah, I'm sorry I
hour,
did
I
not mean
guess.
to hijack with your session.
No, see, again, it's like, Monica shared that it's everybody's questions, at different stages. So it's nice. Like, we don't have very strict guidelines that this is what we have to do. And that is the beauty of these study circles, right? Of these gatherings. That when one person asks a question, so many of us benefit from that. So yes, absolutely. So glad we could take what we could, and rest, of course, there's no end to delving into things. So we still have Ritu and Nidhi with us. So is there any reflections, comments, anything before we, I guess we'll end here today. A lot of us have left. So we'll start from the second para maybe next time or something. We'll
Just
see.
maybe Taru, a few last comments to add on, because since Srini was very interested in uh, or maybe attracted towards this superhumanity, so in very simple terms, how would superhumanity come? Now, superhumanity cannot come if I continue to live the way I am living, because there we are talking of physical immortality. So I've often reflected over it, and it appears very sensible and logical that right now we are not immortals. Right now my body perishes after 50, 30, whatever, the years that I live. And it should perish. But because imagine the way we live in such a bad mind space most of the times. So if continuing to follow these evil dictates in the mind, if I become immortal, then that would be a tragedy for the earth. So, superhumanity, mother refers to even the physical change of consciousness, like the body changes, it becomes immortal. But that cannot come before the first step, which is recognizing this light of consciousness, the knowing within me, which tells me, okay, good thought, evil thought, thought which is nurturing goodness in me, thought which is not nurturing goodness in me. So, there it's the first step of our journey. So, we can't just make this leap to superhumanity without even recognizing this light of consciousness within. And then, slowly, as Mother says, as all thoughts, all feelings turn to me, turn to the divine. Every thought, every feeling. Acha, would I still do when mother is next to me? Would I still think that thought? Would I still have that feeling that I have in my heart if mother is next to me? So, nurturing those feelings where we can be totally transparent and abandoning those, rejecting those feelings where they are not helping us, they are harming us. Then, slowly, as a race, we march towards our immortality. Because before that, if immortality comes, it would be a disaster. So, superhumanity is not going to dawn before each one of us, each thought, each part of our being turns completely purified, clarified, transparent, luminescent, like good, really good, having a good heart for each one of us and for our own self. So, that's the baby step that we have to walk each day. Since I thought you were interested in the superhuman, I thought I'll just
Mhm.
put it out. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And
Thank you so
thank
much,
you.
both of you.
Thank you for all the questions that you shared today.
Okay.
Very helpful. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you both for patiently explaining.
Yeah, any other comments or reflections before we end? So just, taking a minute, gathering ourselves and just, sharing this joy, this exploration, the benefits, of this exploration with everybody. Uh, Thank you for joining us and hope to see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.